Good afternoon. Appreciate everybody coming out today. First off, I want to say condolences to the Seidler family and the Padres. Peter was actually on my hiring committee, so got to spend time with him and know him during my time here. This second point, we text back and forth, congratulating the Aztecs, congratulating the Padres. So very sad day for San Diego and for the Padres, and definitely Aztec Nation is with the Padres and the Seidler family. Moving on, really want to thank Brady Hoke for all he has meant to this program. When he arrived in 2009, there were zero expectations for San Diego State football. Coming out of the Chuck Long era, just had not found a lot of success for a very long time. And year one, you could see it. Year two, 9-4, Poinsettia Bowl, beat Navy, and that was the start of taking this program to another level. So appreciative for what he did, one with that first stint, and then turning it over to Rocky, who he had brought on his staff, and Rocky took it to another level, and then to come in back with, gosh, we hired him in January of 20, I think it was. Is that right? And immediately step into COVID, and all that we did in that time frame. So really thankful for what he's meant for this program. A lot of time fans only see the wins and the losses. I got to experience it day to day, what Brady Hoke meant to this team. And again, you go back to, he gets the job and immediately we go into COVID, and running a athletic department, running a football team during COVID with all the hoops that we put on, the number of times that we had to test. You had to stand 6 feet apart before you could go to practice, very regimented practice schedules. And yet we still played football. I mean, we figured out how to, get to Boulder, Colorado and play Colorado in about 48 hours. And the young men got to have a great experience because Brady, did what he had to do, and we did. We didn't like all the protocols that got called there, but Brady stepped into it. He leaned into it, and we did it. And then, Carson, 2 straight years in Carson, which had to do. Look what we got out of it: a beautiful stadium, Snapdragon. But 12-2 in that second season, basically 14 road games. Did a phenomenal job there. Something that hasn't been talked about a lot, but with the alleged sexual assault that happened, Brady was as good a partner in how that played out on this campus as any football coaches I could ever hope for as any coach. We were lockstep with the president as we moved through that. What we needed to do to support campus, what we needed to do to support the San Diego Police Department, and all of that, and he did a fantastic job in it. And with that, we looked at what are the ways that we can, lean into our young men and help them be, great young men. What's programming that we can put, in front of them to help them make, good decisions, to help look at their, their friends, their brothers, their teammates, to help them make good decisions as well, if they ever have a situation where that needs to happen. So this coaching staff has leaned into that, and that's something that's very important to me. As we look at what our athletic department is, it's athletics. We're very successful. Brady has a lot to do with the expectations around this football program. Academics. We've done a very good job from an academic standpoint within the football program, within the overall athletic department, and then life skills. And that's teaching young men and young women when they come in as 18-year-old kids, that when they leave here, they're ready to go to be successful in the real world. And there's so much that goes into life skills, and Brady and this coaching staff have done a great job with that. So, I'm excited that we're going to get to honor Brady as he goes into retirement. We've got 2 more games, and hopefully we'll have a large crowd there for the Fresno game to send off not only the seniors, but to send off Brady. Someone who, a great football coach, and has done a great job establishing San Diego State, is one of the preeminent jobs at our level. And so I wish he and Laura well as they move back to, I think they'll spend a lot of time at Lake Norman, but we'll hope to see them back here in San Diego from time to time to celebrate the Aztecs.
Did you have to tell him it was time for a change, or did he tell you, I've had enough, I've done as much as I can?
You know, Brady and I spend a lot of time together during the season, and you know, I think as we talked through things, Brady arrived at a point where, you know, I think as he said, he was ready to retire. It was time.
What should history write about what Brady and Rocky did? Did they save Aztec football? Their composite record is 120 and 68.
You know, I don't know that. I wasn't here when Brady got here the first time. I came in right after Brady had transitioned and Rocky was here. But I mean, I think you look at, you know, the great, if you look through Aztec football, there's really, you know, two, you know, long-term great periods. That's Coryell, and then right after Coryell with Claude Gilbert for a couple years, and then you've got Brady, Rocky Brady. I mean, the Marshall Falk years were some successful years, but that was more about Marshall and the team around him. This is something where, you know, Brady and Rocky built a great program, and it's a program that can be that's sustainable.
What was the thought process to announcing this decision now rather than just waiting 2 more weeks?
You know, a big part of it is, you know, something I don't necessarily like about, you know, where the industry has gone at this point, but with transfer portal and with the early signing period, having a head start on your coaching search, so that, you know, right as the season ends, those couple weeks right after the season ends, hopefully you can, you know, have someone in place and they have an opportunity to talk to the current student athletes and also the recruits, and if there's, you know, anybody else that's out there that they could possibly bring in with that early signing period.
Yesterday you mentioned on John and Jim that hopefully a mid-December hire, but with the transfer portal opening December 4th, is there more of an urgency to have someone in place by then?
I mean, we'd like to go as quick as possible, but I'm not going to put a date on it at this point, because if I miss the date, y'all will all call me to the carpet for it. So I'm at least smart enough to know that. But I mean, we've had discussions with the student athletes. We met with the full team. I met with the leadership council last night to hear what they wanted, what's great about our program, what do they want to see in another head coach, and what we preached to them is, you know, the transfer portal's open. There's a period of time that it's open. Give us an opportunity to, you know, hire that coach and bring them in and have the opportunity to meet them. And that's something that will certainly push with a coach that's coming in is, you know, I want you to go meet the players that we have and understand who they are and what they mean, you know, as you sit there and you start talking about what the future of Aztec football is. It's not going to be a situation where somebody walks in and says, all of you get in the transfer portal. That won't happen here.
JD, are you at a massive disadvantage, NIL, for football compared to other schools? And is everybody in the Mountain West and the Mid-American and Conference USA, is everybody in trouble in the group of fives because you don't have the kind of big cigar wealth that you need?
I mean, you know, I don't know that we've ever recruited against Alabama or Texas A&M or Ohio State before. So now the hard part is when you get them here is, you know, how do you keep them here? It's a little different now, but there are enough kids out there that want to play football. And so you have to go out, you have to recruit good kids, you know, not just good football players, but good character kids, and bring them in and you teach them how to play football. Or basketball, or, you know, soccer, or whatever it may be. There's enough kids that want to play. So now it's having the right culture built within your program that you don't have kids that are just chasing the highest amount of money. There are definitely kids out there that are going to do that, but there's also kids that value culture, they value development, they value the opportunity to move on to the next level. And is there some NIL in there? So yeah, I think it's important for us to continue developing the NIL side of things. You know, Aztec Link is the group that kind of looks more at football, and I think they're doing a good job getting established. We do a ton of work within our department on NIL, so there's opportunity there. It's just you've got to find the right people and know that occasionally somebody's gonna, you know, maybe get a phone call within the timing of the transfer portal or maybe outside the timing of the transfer portal, and they're going to take off, but that doesn't mean we can't also get guys through the transfer portal as well, doing it the right way.
As an AD, do you keep a short list of coaching candidates in your back pocket, and can you talk a little bit about how the next week or so will go in that search?
Yeah, I mean, it's something where, every year you're paying attention to, who's doing well, because you never know what's going to happen. So definitely had, some people that we would be interested in, talking with. We're certainly moving forward, with things right now. Again, I'm not going to talk about candidates, and I'm not going to talk about timing other than our goal is to be done in mid-December, but we're certainly off and running. And, I've heard, I've seen or heard some people talking about, is this a desirable job or not? In the market, I can promise you this is a very desirable job within college football. I mean, we are, if you look at, group of 5 level, we're right there at the top. You can certainly look at the lower half of certain Power 5 conferences and say, okay, San Diego State's going to be a better job than that one because I got a chance to win. I can go there and I can win conference championships. I can access the college football playoff. They've got a fantastic new stadium. Facilities are good enough. Obviously, we'd like to do more with our facilities here on campus, but we'll see how that plays out. But this is definitely a desirable place to come and coach football, and that's because of what Brady and Rocky did before this.
Will you guys engage an executive search company, or how do you go about finding all these?
Yes, we have a search firm.
How important is the showmanship element now in that head coach at a D1 level in football?
I don't know that it's that big of a deal. I want a good football coach. I want someone who wants to come in here and, there's a culture within this building. So it's important to find someone who is going to come in and want to be a part of our culture, our Aztec athletic department culture. That they want to do it the right way, that it's not just a football job. Your job is to take 18 to 22-year-old young men, coach them up really well so that if they can get into the NFL, they have that opportunity. But you also have to take an interest in their academic side, and you also have to take an interest in the life skills side, because that's who we are and that's what we do.
Will there be a buyout associated with Brady, or will he walk away from $4.8 million?
We have a retirement severance package that we're working through right now.
And who will fund that?
That'll come out of athletic department dollars.
Coach Hoke mentioned, he's still the head coach for 2 weeks. He's recruiting. He's talking. There's about 10 or 11 guys who have committed for class of 24. Obviously, trying to get more. At some point, those guys are going to ask questions that he may not be able to answer. Is that any scenario where you could get involved to talk to these recruits and reassure them about what's going to happen moving forward?
Yeah, no, we'll work on having the opportunity to reach out to those guys that are committed and just kind of give them an update on what our process is going to be and to hold tight. And again, our goal is to get this done quickly so that people have the opportunity to make decisions before deadlines get too close.
What's your priority in terms of the persona of the next coach? Former head coach, hot young coordinator, older guy, young pup? What do you think you need profile-wise?
The biggest thing for me is we sit there and we have a discussion. It's going to be someone that I feel is, it's going to be the best person to lead this program and be successful in all the different areas that I just mentioned. So I'm not leaning on someone that's offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, head coach, coordinator. One thing that'll be important, we've won championships with defense here, but we also need to be better offensively, and I'm going to be interested in, if it is a defensive-minded head coach, what's your offensive, what's your plan? Who are you going to hire? What type of offense do you want to run? Because, we want to generate some excitement. We want to continue getting, more people in the stadium. I can't remember who asked the question earlier. I think it was you, Hacksaw. We were approving season ticket pricing today with our Intercollegiate Athletics Committee, and so we'll be ready to roll with renewals and new season tickets. We've heard from the fan base that they think, tickets are too expensive, and, with what's happening on the field. So hopefully we'll have a good combo, with new head coach coming in, and then with the ticket pricing that we're going to put out there. My expectation is, everything I've heard from people, they're not really going to have an excuse not to show up next year. So I'm looking forward to a full building. We'll continue working on game day experience. The river park's going to be open, so you're going to be able to tailgate instead of on asphalt. Nice grass area, and we'll work on ways to make that attractive. So the stadium continues to, game day experience continues to grow, and that's going to, continue to happen as we build out Mission Valley. So we'll continue to, find new opportunities there. for people to enjoy the entire game day experience and not just the game itself.
When you walk around that stadium, how disappointed are you to see only 14,000 or understand the erosion of season ticket support? Because you work so hard to get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, the stadium has been successful. There's no doubt about that. I mean, just, look at it, 61 full venue events. We've done what we wanted to do. Am I disappointed that, we've had the lack of fan support that we have? Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there that wouldn't be disappointed. I understand why. I mean, we have passionate fans, and, you have to earn that. But, certainly look forward to having more people in the building next year as we've listened to what, is important to the fan, and we work that into what is, important to our overall program.
What kind of a price adjustment can fans expect?
We'll wait to roll that out. I got to get it approved first, but people will definitely see, meaningful movement, especially on the east side of the stadium.
I know some schools already have their season ticket sales going for 2024. Would you guys wait until the new coach's name before rolling that out, or when do you expect to have season tickets out there?
Well, renewals should go out pretty quickly after the season ends. I mean, again, we're going to be, naming a new coach pretty soon after the season ends as well. So it all should coincide pretty well.
You set a goal for season ticket sales last year?
I mean, I think in our pro forma, it was at 18,000. I think we got close to 16 plus last year. We're obviously down from that this year. So, I mean, I want a sold out building. I mean, why wouldn't you show up? I mean, again, we're addressing pricing. It's the best college football experience from a stadium standpoint in the country. So, yeah, my expectation is people will show up.
Hey, JD, with diminishing attendance, the fluidity of the conference situation and college football kind of splitting into two maybe in the future, do you get a sense for how important this hire is in maybe keeping Sdsu football part of the upper half of college football? Is that fair to say, or is that too much of a stretch?
No, I mean, I think, it's your football hire. I mean, any coaching hire is always going to be important. Obviously, we have very high expectations for what any of our programs do, but in football especially with what we've done over the last 13, 14 years. So yeah, I mean, our expectation is we're going to get back there. So you got to find the right person to do that. But again, it's also got to be the person who's going to be best for your student athletes and best within this department.
Can you give us any update on conference affiliation, Mountain West, Pac-12, what's going on there? I know you guys were very close months ago and that took a turn. What's the latest and what can you share with us?
There's a hearing in Whitman County today in Colfax. So I think that will help drive what's next. I know there have been conversations pretty much continually between Mountain West Conference and the Oregon State, Washington State representatives. And we'll see where that lands. Feels more like a scheduling alliance at this point, just because you're kind of up against it from the football standpoint. Their football teams need to know what next year's going to look like and what their schedule's going to be. So you do that, and then you just keep moving forward. So it's the carousel will not stop, in the next couple weeks.
One follow-up on that. If there is a merger or some down the line, there's a lot of talk about that Pac-12's reserve account. Would they tap into that to help Mountain West schools make the transition? Whether that's for coaches, facilities, or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, they're obviously, as you look at the Mountain West Conference schools, we're whole right now. The Pac-12 schools are not remotely whole, the two that are left. So, as you look at, what that reserve is, and then, the other complicating factor, you've got your assets of the Pac-12, but there's liabilities out there that they're going to have to figure out. The House lawsuit, they've got a lawsuit with the Holiday Bowl. I think there's another, element that's out there as well. So there's some pieces that they're going to have to look at is, how do those get handled, and is that the 10 members that are leaving are going to have some responsibility, or is it, I assume it won't just fall on the two, but if more of it's going to fall on the two, then they're going to need those reserves for that. So we'll see what it is.
Has there been any dialogue at all with Mountain West about changing the exit fee down from 34 mil to something more reasonable?
Well, if you give more than 12 months notice, it's basically 3 times the average revenue distribution that year, which would be like 17, 18 million. If you leave under 365 days, that's when it gets to that bigger number, so. No, there hasn't been any talk about lowering the triple number.
Brady was, I believe, among football head coaches in the Mountain West is in the bottom half. You consistently have paid your coaches near or at the top. Are you prepared to make that salary jump, and how much of an overall investment is this going to be in the football program, beyond just hiring a new head coach, but whether it's coordinators, whether it's trying to divert funds over to NIL, whether it's facility upgrades, what can you share?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we brought Brady on, we gave him a pool of money, and it was, salary, what he was spending in other places and all that. So part of it was, a mutual decision between us of what the salary was. It wasn't something where I came in and said, this is your salary. It was more of a bigger conversation. So, I mean, I think at this point with, now that the stadium's up and running and what we're doing, do we have the opportunity to be at the top of the league from a salary standpoint? Yeah, that's probably where we'll end up being. From a assistant coach pool, ours, I think right now maybe Boise's a little bit ahead of us, but I think we're right behind them from an assistant coach pool. Obviously, we don't need to do anything with the stadium. Obviously there's some things that we want to do around here, which we'll work through. NIL is something that we'll continue. We can't do anything with NIL. We can't, use any of our funds for that. And we talk to our donors about it. It's like, what can you do for NIL? But, you've also still got to, help fund the athletics department. You've got to buy your tickets and those types of things. So I haven't seen a huge impact to what we're getting from a donation standpoint, as we've seen some movement into the NIL. So hopefully we can continue that.
The Portland State game from next year's non-conference was cut. Is there a replacement game you guys aren't want to announce or ready to announce?
We've got, I think we need to work, we have replaced that game. We just need to work with the other party to get it announced. But yeah, we did move that game into week 1 because we didn't have a week 1 game at that point. So we worked, I think at the end of the day, Dave Brown used to work with ESPN, who's the scheduling guru. I think that ended up involving 8 or 10 teams to get that game moved with other chess pieces on the board. So yeah, we got that.
Is it still a home game?
Yes. So I think we've got 6 home games next year, and we'll go to Central Michigan and go to Cal, and then have the Cougs and the other game here.
Can you give the school's initials?
So STATE. No.
Will Ryan Lindley or anyone on the current staff be considered for the head coaching job, or are you committed to just moving on to a new candidate outside?
I think we'll look at all candidates that are available to arrive at what we think.
So that's a yes, they are.
Again, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't. We will look at the candidates that we're interested in, and there's certainly candidates that are have an Aztec lineage in some way, shape, or form. That that's something that is an important element. It's not a do or die or a must-have element, but certainly people that understand what the culture is here.
JD, what was it like to walk through what you've walked through in the last 3+ years? COVID, Ariza, losing this head coach.
It has been it's been hard. I think COVID was interesting. The hardest part about COVID was you couldn't make a decision, because as soon as you would make a decision, 5 minutes later, something changed and you had to go back. I mean, the number of Zoom calls that you had where you made a decision in the morning and then the afternoon Zoom call was changing everything. So COVID was just a real, it was hard. It was a lot of work. A lot of burnout for people from that. The Ariza thing was really hard. Because one, I knew about it on Monday before, Monday after it happened, and, we're working with SDPD and with campus, and, not really knowing a whole lot about what's happening. And then, it finally breaks in whatever, June or July, and I feel like that impacted us a little bit with stadium opening because of how that went. But that was a lot to process from the standpoint of, just what was alleged. And how does that happen? And that weighs on you, and, you know, how do we, you know, it's, that was a lot. And then, you know, just getting the stadium open, everything that we've done, Pac-12, you know, August 4th was probably, that may go down as the worst professional day of my life. Just, I mean, you know, everything that we had worked for, you know, 7 years to get there, and then to have, you know, it just kind of, you know, poof, it's gone. That was really hard too. So, but every day I get to walk into this building and see student athletes whose lives we're making a difference in, and giving them an opportunity for an education and to be great human beings, and to go to Snapdragon Stadium, and whether it's an Aztec football game, or, you know, a Waves semifinal match, or a Jimmy Buffett concert, which was really meaningful because, you know, one of my favorite artists, and to have that be his last concert. So it's like anything. Life's a roller coaster, and there's good and there's bad, and there's some things that are really hard, but at the end of the day, you know, we've got 500 student athletes in this building, and, you know, I'm fortunate enough to be the leader of a great staff, and that we get to, you know, help change people's lives.